In this movie, we will talk about co-authoring Office documents in Skype for Business. That means you can open up a Word, PowerPoint, or Excel document from a Skype for Business call or meeting, and everybody on that call will be able to actually edit that file at the same time. But this is really just an extension of co-authoring features in the online versions of the Office applications: Word Online, Excel Online, and PowerPoint Online. So you do not need to have Skype for Business to do this. It just gives you a quick way to access these features for people in your Skype for Business contacts. Also, Mac users should be aware that they can use the co-authoring features in the online Office apps, but this shortcut does not exist in Skype for Business on the Mac. So first, I want to do a little bit of setup to make sure we have some files to work with. And for that, I want to start by going to the Office 365 website, where you can see I've already signed in. The files that you want to share will need to be either in your OneDrive or in a SharePoint document library. These are the cloud-based storage tools that come with an Office 365 Business or Enterprise account. Any file that you want to share or co-author has to be stored in one of those places, even if you're doing it through Skype for Business. So I want to start by looking at my OneDrive for Business account. I can just click on this OneDrive tile, and I want to see that I do have some files here. In fact, if I go to this folder called Globe Bank Documents, I can see the Microsoft Word document that I want to share. So I have some files on my OneDrive for Business, but I also need to have my OneDrive for Business account linked to my computer. So I want to minimize this. I want to go into File Explorer here on this computer, and you'll see that I have my OneDrive account linked to this computer. And if I select that here in File Explorer, I can go into that same folder and I can locate that same file. So if you do not have your OneDrive for Business account set up like this, you can always check out OneDrive for Business Essential Training by Jess Stratton. Now, alternatively, you can use a file in a SharePoint document library. So let's go back to the Office 365 website, and I'm going to click on the tile for SharePoint so I can look at the different SharePoint groups that I am a member of. So you can see I've got a bunch of them here. These are different groups in my organization, and I am a member. And if I go to one of these SharePoint groups, then I go to Documents over here on the left side, I'm looking at the SharePoint document library for this group. And I have some Microsoft Word documents I can work with here as well. So I can use documents from either of these locations. And you can always check out SharePoint Online Essential Training to learn more about the SharePoint setup. I want to leave this SharePoint site open, but I'm just going to minimize this window, and I want to go back to Skype for Business, and we can see how this works. So I'm going to need to start a call or a meeting. This can be an audio call, a video call, or it can be a simple instant message conversation. So since it doesn't really matter, I'm going to start an instant message conversation with Stuart. So I'll just double click on Stuart's name, and then I could send him a quick instant message. And we could type messages back and forth, but what I really want to see here are the sharing features. You should see this button down at the bottom of the window, this Share Content button, whether you're in an audio call, video call, or instant message. I want to click on that and go to the option to co-author an Office document. When I click on that, it gives me this warning letting me know that everybody in this meeting will be able to edit this document, which is actually what I want, so I'll hit OK. And now it opens up and shows me the contents of my OneDrive for Business account. And we saw this just a moment ago. So I could go into this Globe Bank Documents folder, and I could find that Microsoft Word document that I was looking for. Now, if you remember, we saw more files in this folder than what we're seeing here. That's because it's only displaying supported Office files. So I can only share Word, PowerPoint, or Excel files, so it just filters down and it shows me those types of files. I could set this to show all documents, but that's not going to help me. All right, so I could select this file right here directly from my OneDrive for Business. But before I do that, let's consider SharePoint. What if you want to share a file from SharePoint? There's a little bit more work involved in that, but it's not bad. I'm going to walk you through it. For now, I'm just going to leave this window hanging open. And I want to go back to the Office 365 website, and I want to go to the specific SharePoint group that I want to work with. It's important that you have this SharePoint site open because we need the address for this SharePoint site. So I'm going to go to the address bar up here at the top, and I do not want to select the entire address. I just want to select this section. Everything in the address up to where it says sites, and then the name of the group that immediately follows it. And I can see I missed a letter here, so I need to be careful. I want to select this portion. All right, so I've got it selected, and I'm going to copy it. So on Windows, I'm going to do Control-C to copy it. I could use Command-C on a Mac to copy it. With that part of the address selected, I can minimize this, go back to Skype for Business. And what I want to do is click up here in this path field. I don't want to click on one of the folders. I want to click on this empty white space. So now that whole path is selected. Then I'll paste in the address for that SharePoint group. So using Windows, I'll do Control-V, Command-V on Mac would work. And once I've got that address in there, I'll hit this little arrow button. And in a moment, it will open up that SharePoint site. So I need to go into the Documents library from here. Then I can pick the document that I want to work with. So you can see you can either open a file from your OneDrive for Business or from a SharePoint group. It just takes a little bit more work to get into the SharePoint group. All right, so I'm going to select a file, hit Open. So now, after a moment, it's going to prompt me to sign into my Office 365 account again. This is just an extra security step, so this is fine. Now you can see I have this little floating window here, and if there were a video meeting going on, I could still see the video of the other people here. But I just want to grab this little Skype icon, drag this over here to move that out of my way. So from here, I can sign into my Office 365 account. I'll put in my email address and password, then click Sign In. And now what I see is Word Online. This is the online web-based version of Microsoft Word, and it's opened up that document that I've shared with the other people in this meeting. Before I continue, I want to go over to the other computer. Let's look at the computer where Stuart is working. So here on this computer, we can see the same thing. We've got the little floating window that I'll move out of the way. And so you'll see Stuart will also need to sign into his Office 365 account. So we'll sign in here and hit Sign In. So if there are multiple people on this call, everybody will be able to view and edit this document, but they'll need to sign into their Office 365 account first. So now Stuart has signed in and he sees the same thing. But here's what's really interesting. Let me make this window a little bit bigger. I want you to see up here in the top right corner, it says Nick Brazzi is also editing. So I'm on the computer signed in as Stuart, but Nick is also editing. And Nick is represented by this red cursor. And if we switch back to my computer where I am signed in as Nick, we can see something very similar. I'm signed in as Nick, but Stuart is also editing this document. And on this computer, Stuart is represented by this green cursor. So I could scroll through here and I could make some changes. So maybe we want to change the revised date here to April 22nd. I can make that change. But then Stuart could go through and make his own changes. So he might add just 2017 at the end of that line. And I can see as he's making those changes, I can see the changes on the fly and I can see his name on the cursor. So we can both edit this file together at the same time. This is co-authoring. Now in a moment, Stuart will finish working and all he has to do is simply close the Word Online window. And here on my computer, I will see that he will disappear. It says Stuart is no longer editing this document. So because we're working in the web-based version, all of these changes will be automatically saved. So all you need to do when you're finished is just close the window. So I'll do that here as well. I'll close the window and then I can go back to this conversation. I can double click on this little floating window. It opens up that chat window again. I'm going to hit End Co-authoring Session. I'll hit Hide Stage. And now we're back to just a regular text-based instant message conversation. And that's all you need to do to set up a co-authoring session with files either on OneDrive or on a SharePoint document library. If you are holding meetings and conversations with your coworkers over long distances, co-authoring files might make your work much more efficient.